Hello, everyone. Welcome. Before we start our seminar today about encountering misinformation on Palestine, let's wait a couple minutes to have then all the participants. We have more than 100 participants now, so please write on chat your names and where are you watching us, where are you based? And if you are journalists or fact checkers, if you're in the press or institution that you work at. So we have Mariam from Palestine, Hamad from Morocco, Khadija from Morocco, Ahmed from Palestine, Reem from Jordan, Ali from Iraq. I would like to ask that our English-speaking colleagues please select English on the interpretation icon so that you can access interpretation. We have Osama from Algeria. We have fact checkers from Portugal and from Egypt, from Palestine, Bahrain, from Lebanon, Tunisia. And we have also people from Taiwan, from Washington, from Pakistan. We're really happy that we have diverse participants from across the world. We want more participants. We have also participants from Poland, from Qatar, from Norway, from Libya, Egypt, Algeria. Welcome, all of you. We have also participants from Germany, from Morocco, Sudan, Washington, D.C. Before I start, let me remind you, for those who want to hear the English interpretation, please again select the English icon. We have also colleagues from India. Now we can start. Hello, everyone. Ahmed Shihab, Muhammad Al-Salihi, Muhammad Abu Matar, Hisham Al-Nawajha, Ibrahim Lafi, Saeed Al-Tawil, Muhammad Jargoon, Asad Shamlakh, Muhammad Abu Rizq, Salam, Hussam Mubarak, Abdul Hadi Habib, Muhammad Balusha, Assam Bahar, Samih Al-Nadi, Khalil Abu Adra, Muhammad Abu Ali, and the colleague and friend Sam Abdullah. These are not merely names or numbers. These are 18 male and female journalists. Each one of them has a family, a story, a dream, and they were supposed to have a future. However, the occupation murdered them as they were trying to silence their voice that was conveying the truth from Gaza and southern Lebanon. They and dozens of injured and missing fellow journalists, male and female journalists, in addition to more than 4,000 martyrs in Gaza. We would keep silent for their sake for 1 minute before we begin our symposium. I chose journalism because I wanted to be close to people, to human beings. It is not easy to change reality, but at least I was able to convey that voice to the world. This is a quote by martyr journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. For the sake of the martyrs and for the truths that are distorted on a daily basis before our eyes, and in order for the truth to reach all people, wherever they are, and in all languages, in order for us to continue with our role as journalists and fact checkers in reporting the facts, in exposing human rights violations, exposing misinformation, corruption, falsification, and distortion of facts. We have united our efforts since the first day of the aggression on Gaza as a community as AFCN, from ARIJ, journalists for investigative journalism, for Arab investigative journalism. While the ethics of this war, while the ethics of major media outlets are falling due where there are 30 information fact-checking institutions and 250 fact-checkers from 12 our countries working day and night, voluntarily and with very limited capacities and legal, physical, psychological, and professional challenges in order to fight disinformation. A big salute to all of them from the ARIJ team and AFCN. In the network, we have provided emergency financial support to the Palestinian information fact-checking institutions. We have launched an international alliance composed of more than 50 fact-checking institutions from 30 countries around the world to fact-check everything related to Palestine. We cooperate everybody in everything, in auditing, in fact-checking, in translation, publishing, and communicating our voice to all the international forums. We help each other without any expectations, without questions or any compensation. A real society and one goal to fight this massive torrent of misinformation. I am Saja Murtada, a Lebanese journalist, fact checker, and director of the AFCN from ARIJ. I run this webinar entitled Confronting Misinformation about Palestine, during which I will host my dear colleagues Bakr Abdelhaq from منصة Tahaqqaq platform, the Palestinian Tahaqqaq Verify or Tahaqqaq platform, Anas Hawari from the Palestinian Tayqn platform, Fuad Abu Qadir from the Lebanese Sawab platform, Dina Ibrahim from the Egyptian Akhbar Meter platform, and Haidar Al-Musawi from the Iraqi Al-Fahis platform. In this webinar, we will be discussing the most prominent false and misleading has spread over the past weeks. We will talk about the efforts by these institutions in verifying and fact-checking such information. We will be discussing the importance of collaboration and concerted efforts in such difficult circumstances. We would also try as much as we can to answer your questions. Let's start with our colleague Badr Abdelhaq. Please share with us the main misleading and information and misinformation and disinformation that the Tahaqqaq achieved in the past 2 weeks. Thank you, Saja. My greetings to all the colleagues, to the participants, and the special one to my family, people in the Gaza Strip who are suffering from the atrocities of the bombardment and the martyrs. Of course, we hope for this aggression to go and also greetings to Haytham Abdel Wahid and Haytham Louhaidi. We hope to meet them soon, or at least to know something about them. They've been disappearing during the past days during this wars. And thanks for this webinar, for this platform to speak about the misleading information and the confusion of information that we have been facing and experiencing ever since the war and aggression on Gaza started. We can start to talk about documented statistics by the there is more than 150 fake content allowed by the social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Al-Marsad Al-Palestine, the Palestinian Monitor, Tahaqqaq. We've been following dozens of examples that we monitored, information that we monitored that attracted our attention, bringing new fake examples that we're working on. We can be able to divide such information and data into two actually parts. First, there was empathy and engagement during the events of the Gaza Strip, and the Gaza Strip covered through misinformation or fake information in two directions. First, connecting false videos and pictures or images of the Gaza events, and the other thing is rushing the declaration of martyrs, or declaring or announcing names of people who are still alive, announcing them as martyrs. This is one of the examples that we challenged when an image of a Pakistani a child or baby who was a survivor of the floods there, and we of course debunked this, and also the death of the Hisham al-Izza who died on the we also denied the information about the death of this child after we communicated with the sources who made sure, who emphasized that this child was still alive. Now, the new transformation that we noticed in the misinformation, we can see what the manipulation and of information and the political propaganda by the Western platforms since the first minute of the events in Gaza. We can start work on three themes. The first one, allegations, misleading allegations about the killing of women and children in the Gaza cover. Such information were used to mislead and to do projections on the Palestinian resistance in Gaza, connecting that to Nazism and the ISIL organization, ISIL groups. The other one was also was skepticism about the Palestinian sufferings, and the other one is the allegation of killing children and women. This is one of the examples. There was an allegation that one of the resistance elements or members killed an old settler, female settler, and this went viral on all the platforms, social media platforms, even though it was clear that the resistance member was emphasizing that such captives would be dealt with based on the international treatment of captives or hostages. Another misleading or misinformation in this was publishing this or posting this video on the Western media showing a terrorist, between parentheses, showing kidnapping a child. It appeared that this video was in Hebron and as opposed to the Gaza Strip, and this was a plan. This also this guy is a Palestinian, and this video was posted about 2 weeks before the events took place, or maybe a month before the events. This is another example about the skepticism about the sufferings, the humanitarian or the human sufferings of the Palestinians, showing Palestinians trying to fabricating videos but the truth is that this video shows a makeup a cinema makeup artist in Gaza, and this was used as one of the propaganda or campaign against the Palestinians in Gaza. Also, the Israeli government and the Israeli Foreign Ministry tried to deny the facts by denying the story of using the white phosphorus as stated by BBC. We have provided statements, pictures, images, and videos showing and proving that the forbidden phosphorus was indeed used in the Gaza Strip. And the last one is the fabrication for the sake of incitement. This happened with a Swedish activist yesterday when an image, a solidarity image with Gaza was modified, showing that she's anti-Semitic and she supports ISIL, that was the kind of manipulation. Such examples pushed us to work towards translating whatever we achieve, the verifications and the checked facts, because this information affects effectively on the Western media and the Western public opinion. So we didn't only process them in Arabic, but we made sure to translate them in Al-Marsad and Tahaqqaq to the English language. Of the challenges that we faced, if I still have time, Sajja, let me know. Some of the challenges in 2 minutes was accessing, or maybe we had more than 1 million content, electronic, digital was posted or shown by Meta on its platforms, we were able to overcome this limitation by using the algorithms, but some articles or some materials were not accessible due to these limitations. Also, the English language supported material made a good interaction and engagement as it encounters the Arab content as to the English or the foreign Western engagement. Also, another challenge was the absence of communication due to the power outage and communication with the Gaza. With the help and support by ARIJ, we've been able to do a better communication with our clients. However, the majority sources in the Gaza are hard to access due to the power outage and the difficulties accessing such information or sources which delays the results. We also benefited from our presence in AFCN through the collaboration and partnerships with the FAHES, FALSO, and AFCN and Tahaqqaq platforms, in addition to the coalition or Tahaqqaq that involves the Palestinian platforms and the communication lines with some international institutions such as OCHA and foreign fact-checking institutions, all of which helped us achieve the fact-checking faster and more accurate manner, which reflects the Palestinian digital environment. Thank you so much, Bakr. Thank you so much for all your efforts. Let me go to you, Anas. Bakr shared some examples on how the people are distorted through posting misleading information or misinformation and disinformation. He shared examples. Clearly, they were deliberate misinformation against the Palestinians in the past period. Regarding Tayqn, what are the things that you see are similar to those that Bakr shared, or if there are other things that you have? Greetings to all of you. Let me try to take a couple seconds to pay condolences to our colleague Yusuf Abu Atfa, fact checker at Tayqn. He unfortunately he was unable to attend this webinar because his sister died or was killed in the Israeli bombardment, and a number of family members. So condolences to Yusuf. Yusuf, by the way, only 2 days before his sister was killed, he communicated with me in order to benefit from the service provided by AFCN by providing the internet service for fact checkers in Gaza. Tayqn, we monitored dozens of incorrect and false information during the events in Palestine since October 7th. Such misleading information could be put in 3 contexts. The first context is visuals of events that have nothing to do with the current events. If you have any presentation, if you wish to share any presentation, we had a video about the raids or Lebanese demonstrators attacking through the or breaking in through the borders, the Palestinian borders, and we made sure we verified and found that this is an old event. There were other videos from other contexts and countries that have nothing to do with the Palestinian events. So, for example, Palestinians, a video on Palestinians attacking the Gaza, it appeared that this is at least a 7-year-old video from Syria. The other context of misinformation or the inaccurate information that was published in the first 2 weeks had to do with the Palestinian martyrs and the Palestinian victims due to the occupation aggression on the Gaza Strip, such as a video that said that a Palestinian body of a child, it appeared that this was a 10-year-old scene. So this is a kind of information that us at Tayqn found that the sources were the too many events, too many massacres, Israeli massacres against the Palestinians, and some of the people post all the information on the social platforms, other contexts, which is dangerous, which is the misinformation or the disinformation about the current war, which is the most dangerous or most serious, which talks about the Palestinians and they are subjected to the war and the aggression and the rumors, such as a rumor that when Palestinians went to the settlements, they beheaded the Israeli children. This was a very widespread rumor. After the fact-checking, it appeared that this information had no source, but we found it weird that many media outlets, main media outlets in the West, adopted this source without any evidence. Even the US president adopted this piece of information. We made a fact-checking about this rumor, and we presented this in summary. We had a video, so please let me share the video.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we never really thought the has confirmed that the terrorists behaving time. Israeli children and so that to the world. I mentioned earlier about babies, at least, were taken out on gurneys. Still, right now, they're going house to house, still evacuating dead bodies, killed Israeli citizens who were killed inside their homes. But the truth is that the news is not true. The Tayqn team tracked the news and found that a journalist called Nicole Zedek had published it. But later, she returned and said soldiers told her they believed there were 40 dead children. But this news was not published by anyone except this journalist, and even the Israeli army did not embrace the allegation. The agency report had an Israeli army spokesperson's office regarding the matter, and the Israeli response was, "We have seen those reports, but we have no details or confirmations about them." Found a tweet from a journalist, Oren Zid, who confirmed that after media coverage at the scene, there is no evidence to support the accuracy of this news. Furthermore, an official in the Biden administration denied the news that the US president had mentioned. He stated that Biden and his administration had not seen any confirmed images or reports of China.
Thank you, Anas. I think you're facing an internet connection problem. However, we've sent the link to the on the chat to follow up on this Tayqn and check the fact news regarding the beheading of Israeli children. Regretfully, it's not only that the American president had just believed this; it's also it's had spread in the CNN. CNN had also and BBC have had broadcasted this, but then they have apologized for that. Would you like to add anything else? Yes, another rumor that had spread broadly. It's about the misinformation and the pumping of this misinformation. It's like a video that was shown in Gaza, how Arabs play with children hostages in Gaza. What's surprising is that we, us as fact checkers, is that this video was published and shared by Israelis about the abduction of Israeli children and as human shields, and that was the tweeting was beyond millions. Thank you very much, Anas, and thank you. Okay, I'd like to remind you that you can leave your questions in the Q&A to any of the colleagues, and it will be answered shortly after. We'll move now to Fuad. Fuad, You're covering as Lebanese fact-checking platform. You're covering what's happening in Palestine. However, you're focusing on Lebanon and especially the northern front, which is the borders with occupied Palestine. It's the south of Lebanon, and you're fact-checking many of the misinformation that's been exchanging between Israel and Hezbollah, and many misinformation was published, which made frightened some Lebanese, and which led them to leave their houses in the south and go and hire and rent other houses, other homes. So how did you do about that fact checking in Lebanon and in Palestine? Well, Saja, for you and for all the colleagues in the different platforms of fact-checking, and of course, we pray for the souls of martyrs. Actually, we are now following the core of news in Palestine, and we are following also the news in the southern borders. Things are not stable. And the biggest evidence is the martyrdom of Isam Abdallah, our colleague, that you've mentioned at the beginning of this session. Of the main news that was published about the Tufan al-Aqsa news, it's the news that was mainly mainstreamed. It's about the withdrawal of UNIFIL from this southern Lebanon. And who knows if UNIFIL in South Lebanon is to monitor the situation in the south and to ban any conflicts between the different parties. And so that was very much shared, and so this was very much broadcasted, and it was and which made Lebanon seem as if things are out of control and Lebanon is there in the midst of it. But this was, of course, negated, and many officials have negated it. And a bit ago, I saw a piece of news that confirms that UNIFIL is leaving. And there was a video that shows UNIFIL moving from one place to another, which is something very normal. And so this just served the purpose of this the movement or the displacement of UNIFIL. Also, this video that showed that many of the Lebanese were eloping, and they're climbing the walls between Lebanon and Palestine. And it was published by many Palestinian or Israeli newspapers. The Palestinians have fallen into a trap that these videos show that how Lebanon is in the midst of involved in the midst of the Tufan al-Aqsa, and to show the world that they are one hand with the Palestinians. But the Israeli embassy wanted to show that it's our right to do whatever we can in order to prohibit them from entering our land. So this was misinformation that was from a report from 2021 that was published by Nader Rammah. We communicated with him and we told him about the video, and it was he told us, he confirmed it was published on TikTok May 2021. However, the platform had deleted it due to some policies. So other types of news, that horrifying news that aim to horrify people, it's that the airport will be closed. Actually, there were procedures taken by the administration of the airport, but however, these rumors about closing the airport and suspending all flights was not correct, and it had frightened many people, especially the foreigners or internationals whose embassies had ordered them to evacuate and leave Lebanon. Other types of news is that on Monday, the 29th of October, the National News Agency in Lebanon, which is the official news, it's showed that there was a traffic jam between Sur and Saida and Beirut. And Sawab, we fact-checked this picture, and we found out it was published in 2021 by Hussam Bashkaro in An-Nahar newspaper. So it's not a new one, and many news agencies in Lebanon, media agencies, have broadcasted it. There's another the news of evacuating the American embassy. The ministry had negated this piece of news. However, it's still rumored. As for the Palestinian news, we followed up with the news that Sawab was able to fact check. It's that was happened during the bombardment of the Baptist hospital. So Page had shared a video that showed that Al-Jihad al-Islami had hit or launched this rocket, but it was very difficult to access the different sources, and we found out that this video goes back to August 7, 2022, and which confirms that the allegations by Israelis that this rocket was hit by Hamas was falsified. Other piece of news, also misinformation that's spreading out in Lebanon, is that Hezbollah and Amal movement are coming closer to people in the South Dahia al-Janubiyya, which is a majority of Shiite, and it has the main supporters of Hezbollah. After fact checking, we found out that it was not really, was not true, and we communicated with the municipalities, and we found out that that was misinformation. We communicated with the citizens in the different areas of Al-Dahia, and they all confirmed that that was false information. During the work of Sawab, we also focused a lot on public figures, and this focus is about the discipline that and the influence, the big impact that these figures leave in the society, like the Egyptian Bassem Youssef, who had really destroyed this Israeli propaganda in 25 minutes, an interview. And also the Palestinian YouTuber Wissam Qutb, during his attending Qatar Mondial last year, he published he was holding an Argentinian flag, and some Israeli platforms substituted the Argentinian flag with the Israeli flag, just to show that Wissam was supporting Israel and not Palestine. So this is some of the news that we were able to fact check, and this is what we did in the campaign to support Palestine and to rectify some of the news that we had. Thank you very much, Fuad. Thank you. It's clear how the trend was different in Lebanon. It's about to horrify people, how to stir their feelings in order to frighten them to leave their homes, to change their lifestyle, to influence them even psychologically in this phase, the difficult phase. I will move now to Dina. Dina, Meta was focusing on Egypt and Palestine, the Rafah crossing, and we've seen about the aids, where they entered to Rafah, through Rafah to Gaza or not, and what's happening. So I'd like you to tell us more about this information that was spread about Palestine and Egypt, especially regarding the Rafah crossing. Of course, I'd like first to thank the AFCN and ARIJ for their efforts and that we are really presenting our work in order to show what is really happening in Palestine. I'd like to share with you a slide. It's very related to this, what we're discussing. I will present to you the features of disinformation regarding the Gaza Strip that was very much spread about Palestine, and we would notice that there were, of course, statements, untrue statements or inaccurate information for figures and institutions, official institutions. We also see that many of the official accounts that were also there were false statements that were issued by Al-Azhar Sheikh, and to ask people to fight, and like Erling hammered, which he shared about Muhammad Salah. So there were inaccurate statements from influencers, also from Ahmed Al-Tahi, the head of news, who condemned the silence of Human Rights Watch and these these organizations have condemned what's happening in Gaza. And we also noted that some local institutions are spreading disinformation without having reverting back to any official source or governmental source, like for instance the Union of Sina Tribes. They've broadcasted a video about a CSC president in which he said that we will never leave Sinai, and he had threatened Israel, and it was as if he was threatening Israel, whereas the statements of Sisi were said in 2015 as a response of the attacks that had taken place then. So some of the disinformation is very alarming to start the war. Some information that there were Sisi where he was lecturing Israel about the non-commitment of the agreement and convention, and there was no mention to any war or any escalation. So many things, and there was exaggeration in conveying information even before it happened. So there were pictures about AIDS, and that people would say like those campaigns that of information of aid were sent, although they are not yet were not ready. These are some of the claims or allegations that we've worked on, like the closing of the Egyptian gate in the Rafah crossing, and we see that there are cement blocks that ban Palestinians from entering Rafah crossing. And while fact-checking this video, we saw that it was taken by a Palestinian photographer, taken from the Palestinian lands, and it showed that there were it was hit by that about 4 times by the Israelis. So when we checked with the official sources, and we saw that Sameh Shukri, the foreign minister, the Egyptian foreign minister, had annexed this video, said that it was spread by the Palestinians, where it showed that they were subject to the bombing, and he negated that was Egypt had closed the crossings in order not to let the foreigners to leave or the entering of the aids. So the other piece of news was about the that Israel did not agree that these aids get into Rafah, and this had showed that Rafah on the Palestinian side was closed, and that Israel is the one that insists on inspecting all trucks before entering Gaza. We fact-checked and looked in 3 dimensions, and we saw that first, we noted that the piece of news was not related to any official source or any news information and source, and the Egyptian foreign minister said that up till now, Israel did not take a stand in regards to the opening of the crossing, whether for the aids to enter Gaza or not. And we checked with the Prime Minister's office in Israel, and we did not also find that there was anything to do with the entering of the trucks or the evacuation of the foreigners. The Palestinian officials also said that they did not have any official information. So these were all rumors spread by Israeli news media or media platforms. many other allegations used figures who were listening to something. For instance, we found out that some people would look up to the Sheikh of Al-Azhar, who said that it's better if you die on your own lands as knights or as martyrs. But when we checked the webpage of Sheikh Al-Azhar page, we saw that there was no statement said by him, and the statement was by him. So that was disinformation, and they mentioned even Ahmed al-Tayyib. The last statement was by Ahmed al-Tayyib page, and it was about condolences for the victims of the Libyan flooding. And there was this piece of information that was widely spread also, and it could be like that the Jordanian king had visited Egypt in an official visit, and that was very widely spread. However, we fact-checked this, and we found out that this picture was taken from a video that was published by the Jordanian Royal Bureau, and about the preparedness of the government to combat the pandemic then. And so videos and images that were see that he is that Sisi was meeting with the king of Jordan. It was wearing formal clothes and wasn't in military costumes. Also about de-escalation of the tensions. The very famous picture past 2 days was about the spread of information regarding Sinai, that Sinai is now more on the map, which is a beginning to that was a plan to for the migration of Palestinians and their evacuation to Sinai. So when we go back to Google Maps, we see that there's nothing called the peninsula of Sinai. We see that there are cities that names are written on the map, like Sharm el-Sheikh, ARIJ, Hurghada, and so on. At the same time, the administrative divisions of Egypt, there's the northern Sinai Governorate, southern Sinai Governorate, Red Sea. So things are clear that when people enter or access, they would see it wasn't there. It's in the past, it wasn't there in any way. So what's with the change that was seen on Twitter or Facebook is that it was updated. And when we started to use the Bing maps by Microsoft, we found out that there were only northern and southern Sinai governorates. But this video had spread widely because there were allegations from the Israelis to migrate Palestinians to Sinai. This had led many to believe this, although that many said that this is not true. Another can you please this about Muhammad Salah donation to the Red Crescent? Yes, he had donated to the Red Crescent, but he did not mention the amount, nor it was mentioned by the Red Crescent. But many like to add information that would widely spread among people, and without this, thank you very much.
Unfortunately, the humanitarian aid, we have so many misinformation about the humanitarian aid. That's why we started to collaborate with UN OCHA, who are helping the AFCN, and fact checkers are also helping them to check all the information on the humanitarian aid and humanitarian situation in Gaza. I would move now to Haidar. Hello, Haidar. Haidar, as you know, Iraq could be maybe geographically more distant than Lebanon and Egypt from Palestine. However, it is greatly connected to Palestine. How did your fact-checking platforms how they have been working lately? Thank you, Shaja. Greetings, everyone. I would like to thank all the colleagues and the participants to benefit from this webinar. for the sake of time, the main news spread in Iraq, despite the geographical connection, is that the cause is a belief humanitarian and Iraqi resistance cause. It's very much connected. Of course, we worked on more than 44 investigations that we posted in different platforms. Of course, they included fake and fake images, false news, and lies, the rumors, the technical rumors that are related to this crisis. The first news item, the Sistani reference that called for voluntary defense for Gaza. Of course, this is very sensitive to the Iraqi community. That's why this was traded to a large extent on the platforms, and it caused a lot of confusion in the Iraqi street. There were some parties, maybe unknown or miscellaneous, or parties wanted to respond to the false call for voluntary that were traded and posted about this. Of course, this involves very sensitive information that can be used for intelligence purposes, or maybe falsifying certain personalities. They were trying to use this tactic or method in publishing a fatwa, the Sistani fatwa. However, this fatwa, there was a statement issued back in 2002 on Palestine, and it was posted as if it was a new one. So we verified these details. The other news item was the techniques used by the Israeli occupation to link the terrorist groups with the Palestinian factions. They posted or published a picture showing women in Islamic uniforms covering their faces, images showing women chained. Of course, these images are for Shiite religious ceremonies that are practiced by the Shiite in Iraq, and they captioned them as ISIL practices, and it was an attempt against the Palestinian factions, and it was done by the Israelis to continue as a justification to continue their aggression. They also used pages supporting the Israeli occupation, posting images or videos of a group of soldiers gathered in a place. The allegation was that the Israeli occupation forces were subjected to a Hamas. Hamas told them that this was a place of the corpses or the bodies of the Israelis. However, when the soldiers attacked there or arrived there, the place or the site was exploded or bombarded. These are the kind of examples of the kind of events or videos that we fact check, and we found out that this was posted back in 2016 in the Halab area in Syria. So this was a big false, giving justification or providing a wrong image about what's taking place in Gaza, that they are committing war crimes. And of course, this was false, fake. Also a fake account by the name of Farida Khan that was done or appeared recently about a journalist from Al Jazeera. This account continued to post videos and news that it's Al Jazeera channel transmitting the hatred speech against Palestinians. However, this account, of course, was a fake one. Al Jazeera channel published a statement saying that they don't have such a journalist and that it's a fake one, and that they don't have any female colleague with this name in Al Jazeera. So this was a fake account to direct messages to that Al-Iraqi Al Jazeera is only publishing hatred speech against the Palestinians. In this respect, also, we found that there were dignitaries in the Israeli media who follow such accounts, which is an indicator that there is a systematic campaign practiced by the Israeli media to launch attacks, counter-attacks, misleading attacks, hatred speech attacks against the Palestinians. Regarding the suspicious calls regarding the Sistani fatwa, this was linked to a certain agenda of some armed groups or extremist groups in Iraq. This is still ongoing. They continue to publish such reports about sites or places of people who have such statements with details, and these are very classified information or maybe very sensitive information. It is very serious when such information are shared or used or exploited for intelligence purposes, or used for to falsify a certain personality, or maybe to recruit them later and to have a database or to maintain a database of to be used for recruitment, for future recruitment, or maybe. And on that day, the false news or the fake news, when they are spread in a certain country, this is copied and reposted in another country, like Dina said, for example, in the case of Sinai, the relocation of Palestinians to Sinai. Today, there was a news item about removing the name of Salah ad-Din from the map and the removal of the Anbar district on the map, but both were incorrect or false information. And this is not a new thing. They use even the names of important or central districts or central positions or locations that are used purely for propaganda, incorrect propaganda that affects negatively the cause, even if they're, because they would of course make or they lead to a mistrust or confidence in the main cause. I would emphasize that the reports or the because they are very serious. Thank you so much, Haidar, for your efforts. We have seen a number of different or diverse misinformation about Palestine lately. We have so many questions, so let's try to take some questions before we continue with the discussion. First question to our colleague Bakr. In the fact-checking, there is the debunking, the preventive debunking, which is based on intensely or intensively post or publish information, correct and accurate information in or during the talk about a certain crisis or issue. In the chat we have a question. On the chat we have under Q&A, what are the main sources whereby a person can know about the history of Palestine and the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, especially that now there's a lot of fake information on this issue. Thank you, Saja. Indeed, this is very important to go in the direction of spreading correct information or publishing correct information. Of course, this could be controversial, especially with the manipulation that we have, maybe to rely on the National Center for Information, especially historic information about Palestine. There are some official and formal information. You can also rely on official news sites that have high credibility and that are trustworthy sources. It's important to have diverse sources, not to rely on only one source. We're talking here about data that were done manually or updated manually on many platforms. It's very important to match the information with more than one source. It's also important to communicate with the historians, academics, the Palestinian universities. There's the legal platform, there's the historical platform. All of these are trustworthy platforms for the public. It's always important to communicate with the sources, with diverse sources for credibility purposes. Some persons are asking, how can we fact check the information during this crisis? AFCN are sending on chat that they are sending a special AFCN toolkit that involves a number of sources and courses that would help you fact check the information during the crisis time. Let's take another question. How can you deal with the Western media and the hatred speech against the Palestinian people? Especially that the Israeli captives are more important than the killing of Palestinians. Of course, sometimes they start to publish misleading information on a certain side in order to show the word or to make the word stand against the other side or the other party, which is called the dehumanization of this party. Dina, how much or to what extent you are monitoring the media outlets, to what extent you are monitoring the hatred speech and the false information or fake information about Palestinians? We're not monitoring the Western media, we're more monitoring the Egyptian media. In fact, I believe the hatred speech could fall here, which is that Palestinians, for Palestinians to live in Sinai or to be relocated. I believe the statements of the Palestinian people on TV all addressed that this is they all emphasize that Palestine is our land is here in Palestine. I believe this is mainly the hatred speech, but the Western hatred speech, we don't really focus on that. We noticed that some major media outlets have done many mistakes, catastrophic mistakes, some videos accusing the Palestinians to deal or to treat the war prisoners very badly, like children in cages, Israeli children who are being tortured by the Palestinians in cages. And the videos, I think the majority of you verified this video, and it appeared that it's a very old one and had nothing to do with Palestine. If you have if there's any comment on the hatred speech, I believe the best means facing the misleading information to confront them with the facts, to speak directly with the Western public. 30 minutes before this webinar, there was more than 100,000 participants or demonstrators in London. The Western public need to access the correct information. Once they get convinced with the evidence, and as fact checkers, we don't have to be Palestinians. We're only fact checkers. We're looking for the facts. We need to convey these correct facts to the researchers across the world. For example, the Hussam Zumrat, the Palestinian ambassador in Britain, he described, he conveyed the Palestinian narrative on the Western media in a terrific, amazing way in confronting the misinformation. Many Arab media experts contributed to this against the foreign or the Western media who are biased towards Israeli media. So through the media itself, we can counter such misinformation. That's why it's important also to publish in English, in the English language, and to communicate with English language fact checkers or foreign institutions. That's what we're doing at AFCN, which we'll be addressing soon. Haidar, there's a question about the sources of rumors. We noticed that there are personalities involved here. Sometimes maybe the ordinary people who would believe due to their maybe fear, the general situation, will find that there are media outlets involved, or maybe journalists or persons involved from various sources. But according to your monitoring, who are the most? Or is this directly directed against the Palestinians? Thank you, Saja. This is an important question. Yes, there is guidance, there are tactics, there's an agenda for this misinformation. The Israeli side is the one who uses this clearly and largely. starting with the spokesperson of the Israeli army going to the media unit members of the occupation media. As I said before, they exploit or they use delusive accounts, fake accounts to show or to present themselves as Arab personalities or Palestinian figures, of course, provoking hatred speech, showing the Palestinians are not satisfied with certain Palestinian figures to express or to. The other thing is algorithms, compassion, or more. There are videos that are misleading, for example, of rockets launched by the Palestinian resistance, or maybe fierce violence. These are very misleading in a very negative way. Why? Because the Israeli occupation utilizes such videos to as a justification or as a pretext to attack or to strike against the Palestinians in a stronger manner. These videos don't exist, or they could be from other areas or pretty old, have nothing to do with the events or with what's taking place. And this is how the Israeli media uses this. Therefore, any video, regardless, the content should not be shared, but after verifying this, the content of this video. Another thing I would like to add, the algorithms, the FB algorithms only show the rocket attacks or the strong military attacks by the Palestinian resistance and post them to a huge number of followers or people to get more views, showing them as fierce bombardment, whereas there are crazy and shocking Israeli military attacks or aggression that is not posted on these social media platforms, just to show that the Palestinian factions are the ones who are committing massacres. Thank you so much, Haider. There are too many questions about how to verify any piece of information prior to publishing them. AFCN has evidence about pre-posting verification or fact-checking for you to make it accessible to you. And there are questions about how you can volunteer. Thanks to all of the volunteers, AFCN has opened the door for voluntary work. So please share on, fill the form, the voluntary form, and share it with us here on the chat. Let's take another group of questions, but let me first address the efforts in the AFCN in terms of fact-checking. There's a lot of fake news. We monitor them, we work on them, we debunk them. But is this the only thing that we're doing, or should we, the only thing that we should do at this difficult period? I want you to share or to let us know about the work we are doing on your platforms in addition to fact-checking in encountering the misinformation on Palestine. Let me start with Anas. In this respect, we work in two directions. The first is based on why the inaccurate information is published. It might give the impression that the reason behind the publication is ignorance or lack of knowledge, especially if it's an old information. We try to reach out to the bigger Palestinian public to avoid publishing any incorrect information. Sometimes the old material is taken and presented as if there's nothing taking place in the Gaza Strip. With the and that the material is incorrect. In this respect, we of course would respond to such misleading information. One of the questions is that if there is a Palestinian martyr from a previous war, why? Because why would you disagree to reposting this? Because we don't want to present or to reflect a bad image that the Palestinians are liars or only using old images that have been published maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So there is too many correct information, more than enough. We have sufficient information. There is a horrifying content that is created on a daily basis due to the ongoing Israeli aggression on Gaza. So there is no need to falsify previous information, maybe reuse older information. The other thing is that we help the fact checkers in collaboration with AFCN, the Arab fact checkers, and the fact checkers who have inquiries from across the world, from all over the world. It is clear that there is a big attention and a big desire, world desire to know the facts, and a big interest to know about what's taking place in Palestine. The platforms try to contribute to maybe in publishing the facts, might be able to avoid any new crime, any publication of any piece of information or facts. We're not talking here about a flood or all the incorrect information. Today we're talking about fact checking and humanitarian and journalistic feeling, and this fact checking could avoid more blood and would also push or maybe urge the foreign public to exert pressures on their governments. We also work on translating many English, and we're trying to use a third language from Arabic to other third foreign language. We would start with the German. We try as much as we can to establish a platform that is specialized in English speaking public. These are part of too many steps we're working on along with our colleagues from the fact checkers. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anas. Let me go to Bakr. You are responding to many institutions, whether in fact checking, sources, support, aid. To what extent do you think this is important? How would this help us involve foreign fact checkers? How can this support us? Thank you so much, Fuad. There is a question on Q&A that is repeated. Actually, we're working the fact-checking. But is this similar to the spread of fake information? No, of course, the spread of fake information could be systematic. It's systematic, too many money. If it's well-studied, Haidar, what are the means that we can follow as platforms to try as much as we can to access or to reach out to a broader public, please? Of course, it is not enough to spread or to publish the facts compared to the huge amounts of materials or the false information out there. We need everybody, every influencer, every blogger on the platforms to take part in these investigative reports, and we are also ready to provide all the details to convey the facts. Today, this is such a huge event. All the efforts we do, we still need more. We need more involvement of many efforts in achieving or working on such investigations. It's not the false information or the misinformation is on the main challenge. It's the algorithms also that block much or many reports, the removal of posts on the platforms that could the content could, for example, involve the certain terminology or names like Gaza, and even if they're not for incitement or for support of a certain group against the other, just the name or a certain word would make them remove the entire content. So this is another challenge. The other thing is that the misinformation is emotional, if it's emotional, religious, or is connected to a certain party. This party, if it's biased towards a certain emotion or the party that is affiliated to, this is another challenge. We need to clarify how to address the hatred speech. We also need to respond to sources of rumors. We need to go to their accounts to respond to them through our achieved investigative reports. Because if we publish to our own public or audience, we would not be achieving the overall objective. We need to share with the interior, with the domestic and the foreign communities or societies who get impacted by such information. Of course, we currently network with the foreign networks, in order to convey or to publish the facts. Days ago, we collaborated with the US lead stories through one of our colleagues in this website. She verified a number of information. I can provide you with the details about this. So all types of efforts, all means in our to access the correct information and to share them with the outside world is very important. This is a call in this platform to anybody to take part in this campaign, because we are actually going through a war against misinformation. Thank you so much, Haidar. Let's talk about awareness. Part of our work as fact checkers is awareness.
So we would like to ask about the details about maybe using simple tools and to maybe have some critical thinking, to ask questions and so on. How important is it to raise awareness, and how do you see fact-checking organizations are working in this regard, especially now? We're trying as much as possible to work just like fact sheets or something that is called important information. Once the talk starts about a certain treaty, a certain agreement, we try to spread accurate information with the and publish with the sources. so that this will be a unprecedented step about disinformation, to know that, because this disinformation might be published and be spread within hours. So this is one point. The other point is that I believe that meta news and infrastructure and news agencies try to show users what are the alleged sources or the steps. What steps have they followed, that they've watched the video from 1 second to this second, and that this is very important to point out to these issues, to think in a different way, and to think that they need to look for the information from its source, from its beginning, and not just to throw information, and that this is a page that was published somewhere. So because we've talked a lot how to look at, we need to look about the resources that we need to check. This will help the audience to have this critical thinking. We'll stir this critical thinking to not only to align to what they think. Thank you very much, Dina. Okay, we're receiving many questions about AI, and we're using now AI, regretfully, to spread some and broadcast some fabricated news or images or lies. And we've seen some models in the past, recently, who can present to us some of the models that AI had interfered recently. Dina? Yes, there was this picture about working with the international coalition with ARIJ. So this picture about a Palestinian girl who looked as a European, more of a European, but they suspected that this was generated by AI. So we have checked and looked for the picture and of this girl, and we found out that we found some pictures for her with her uncles, with her family. So this was a confirmation that it wasn't the same. Maybe it could be, it very much could be generated by AI. Thank you, Dina. Other examples? Anything that you've noted recently that where there was a use of AI? I believe AI is being steered or predominantly figures, public figures who can influence any rumor. For instance, the pictures that were presented now through the fact check, like the YouTuber, Palestinian YouTuber, and for this picture, and when he added, they substituted or replaced the Argentinian flag with the Israeli flag through AI. This is how we created a new public opinion that's opposing because they oppose this YouTuber. But so now we're in difficult times, very dangerous times, because AI does not need really skills that we expected that they're needed. There are very, very varied ways on how to use AI, and in order to spread this information with dark content, and it might look that it's accurate, and we know that there are many entities that are behind spreading such fake news. Thank you. We're receiving some questions related to the bombardment of the Baptist hospital in Gaza. I'd like to hear from you about the lies that were spread by the Israeli occupation about this bombardment. I've heard that you were able to find that some old recordings and pictures and images, videos were used. Anyone can help out in this? Bakr. Yeah, first of all, regarding the Baptist hospital in Gaza is one of the main ones, very important cases. So we were following up, and by coincidence, we were watching the live broadcast of Al Jazeera, and we saw there was a big round of bombardment that took for as long as 20 minutes. The first instance they've published some old videos related to the resistance where they failed in launching some missiles, but then and I don't know if Anas would agree with me that for the first instance, the Yahud Khemo had recognized and admitted that there is bombardment launched by them to the Baptist hospital. Also, this hospital was alarmed twice. They got a warning 3 times to evacuate. The other thing is that there was the type of missiles that were used, the American made, US made, and when if we follow up the news, they started to bombard Shujaiya neighborhood, Zaytun neighborhood, and northeast of Gaza. And we see that there's similarity in the types of bombardments that took place. So these are all indicators that prove that it's occupying forces that have done this. But regretfully, because the US have adopted the Israeli narrative without any checking, so fact checkers now is just to negate these stories. There should be effort done towards having a committee, a fact-finding committee that would prove that this is an Israeli missile and not a Palestinian one. So our efforts now is just to negate information and or maybe confirm another information. Okay, I would like to reiterate what you just said, that we are, whatever is being spread about the hospital, the many information that indicate that that was an Israeli missile. However, we need to have an official investigation in this regard, but so far it's not there. In addition to what Bakr had said and to the evidence that he just referred to, there's something we noted from the Israeli media, that in all cases of escalations, the Israeli media would follow the narrative of the army. But in this specific incident, it was the opposite. It was the Israeli media who have started the rumor, and as Bakr said, it was on air that there's a strike on the Baptist hospital, and the anchor said that the number of victims were 200, 300. But then they started to say that there is a big leadership that were residing in that hospital, and that's why they were targeted. So when we saw that all victims were civilians, innocent, so the whole story had changed, and they said that it is a failed attempt that was for sending or flying this missile. However, the Israeli army had adopted the narrative of the Israeli reporters. And not the opposite, not as usually happens. So they've adopted this story and they've spread it. And this showed that at the beginning, the Israeli officials weren't sure what they're going to spread out. And it's really, it feels, it's really bad to discuss like who is responsible for this. This is not negotiable. We all know this is the Israelis should not will never condemn themselves, because they're the ones who caused this invasion, as happened with Shireen Abu Akleh, and how they've her blood went in vain at the beginning, because we as fact checkers started to check where was she hit for and how she was hit, and which distorted our attention, and it wasn't the issue about were Israelis behind this or not, and this is what Israelis really seek to falsify. Thank you very much. This is very important to be said. Haidar, I'd like to ask you about what is like the characteristic of notes. And I don't know if you use it in Fahs or maybe of the other platforms. People are talking a lot about notes on Twitter, and they think that this could be falsified, or maybe they provide a public context or general information about this published. How much would this help you as fact checkers, or it could give you leads like that this video is correct or is a true one or not? Thank you. Yes, we have not worked on this a lot, but But this detail could be like difficult. Some statements are correct. However, the context in which these observations are coming in, it could be different. So this could lead to confusion, like what is true? Are these comments true, or what's showing in this context is true? So the comments might not, usually they're not documented, they're not, they don't have a source, they're not evidence-based, and that's why it could be like a two-way weapon. And this is how we need to mention the resources in order to disregard such distorted and disinformation. Anybody else would like to add anything related to community notes? Yes, in Sawab, we tried to check community notes, and we saw that they were banned in Lebanon because phone carriers are not trusted. That's why that was an obstacle on how, and this is in whole Lebanon, that the community notes is not activated on X platform. So we cannot fact check. Thank you, Fuad. If nobody else would like to add, I would like here to note something about community notes. It's, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the second or third day of the incidents, BBC had published a tweet in English and said that Israelis have been killed and Israelis killed and Palestinians died. So I've noted that in the community notes, people asked why, how can a Palestinian die and an Israeli killed? So this is a pure discrimination and a very clear discrimination and bias with the Israelis, although Palestinians are being killed on a daily basis with Israeli missiles. So this type of information, this might lead people to hatred discourse. There's bias, there's discrimination. Haidar, what do you say about this? Yeah, I'd like to add as what happened with our deceased colleague Haidar, when Reuters announced what happened, they did not mention what happened or who caused this, and even did not dig into the details. They said that he was killed, only as simple as that, without going into any of these details. And this is Reuters, the very prominent organization. So regarding community notes, it was mentioned that Israel is the one responsible for the death of that and killing of that journalist. So I that's why I'm referring to this now. Thank you, Haidar. There are questions. We're receiving questions about how do we approach the Western media. And we've seen lately, last interviews, I believe maybe you've seen the CNN correspondent who apologized and said that those Israeli children were beheaded by Palestinians. The very same correspondent were criticized and said, she apologized. She said, many are criticizing us because we are mentioning these stories and about the stories of certain party and neglecting the stories of the other party. So how can we rectify the stories published and broadcasted by the Western media? How can we approach them and show them what we have? This is the right information. This is the fact-checked information. Check them, see them, and we can even send them, communicate directly with them and tell them that this information that you have broadcasted is the wrong one, and you have to apologize for spreading it. And this is the right information. Dina, would you like to answer this question? Yes, I believe if in the coming near future, if there will be focus on translations, to have departments of translation that would fact check, or maybe certain contexts should be translated by professional teams. The more we translate, the more and we spread the word, the more this is better for us. And the more we cooperate with different international platforms, Western platforms that publish in English, and when we provide them with the information, as happened in the baptism hospital, many don't know in the West about the real information. So the more there's flow in their language about our narrative, this is where we'll have a bigger impact. And I am sorry to say that there are Egyptians like Bassem Youssef and others that they know that they're influencers, they have information, they're well prepared, and they can really communicate with the Western is excellent. So I regret that there's so few. It's only like Bassem Youssef and just few others. Thank you, Dina. Anybody else? Yeah, maybe through communicating with staff in such organizations would because we can focus on communicating with journalists who are working in such organizations. They could be working in the Arabic departments in such agencies. Past 2 weeks have proved that confronting such agencies with evidence is very effective and can divert the reality that they believe in, and even ask them to apologize. So we need to do the work for them and to really prove that they're mistaken, but not to keep on focusing on condemnation. This is important, and as what Bassem Youssef had done was very influencing, but we as fact checkers is to give the evidence and to share the content on the biggest level, on the highest level. Thank you very much, Fuad. Bakr and Anas. Before getting back to you, I'd like to highlight something. This is about so can we do this? And this is about the community of 38 organizations. They're very important now in fact-checking in the Arab world, and we're now being the source of such applications. So we agreed on unifying our efforts. So what we've done is that we've created this Slack, our workspace, and it's now joined by 50 organizations from around the world. So we thank them who are joining in through Slack without any return 24/7. And we're all together, we're helping each other. We have organizations from China, from India, from France, Italy, US, Portugal, Bulgaria. So we're grateful for them. Iran, Pakistan. So there are different fact-checking organizations who are working with us 24/7, and we thank the Arab organizations or fact-checking institutions who are working with us, because we as Arab fact-checking agencies, we have a shortage in the teams, in the resources. Still, we're being supported by the foreigners. Our voice needs to be conveyed and raised to reach out to the Western world. Anas, tell me about these applications that we're receiving through Slack or email for you to get support, and the things that you are doing. How much this can be impactful, and what have you noted? How did you note what is the main thing that these international entities are asking for? What do they want to know about? I don't know, but while talking to you, the picture of image of Youssef just popped into my mind. And we saw yesterday. It was like a dominating picture on social media. So we know that we don't need for the Palestinian case, we don't need just to bring in pictures from here and there. The Palestinian case and the war in Gaza is filled with stories, with humanitarian stories, and Youssef is one of these stories that we need to shed light on. What I noted about Slack is that Western agencies are focusing about children, about women, about the stories related to them. And that was somehow comforting because many important and prominent fact-checking institutions did not adhere to the Israeli narrative. It went like viral, like the beheading of children or women. So their focus was on, we need to fact check and make sure is this video correct or not, and so, which shows that the awareness is being spread, it's being raised. And maybe the first days, oh yes, it was different because the pumping of this information was too much. We ourselves got confused. We know as Palestinians, we're not like this. We care about children, about women. We're peaceful by nature. But whenever we'd see a video, we'd call the team and we would be praying that hopefully this is a fake video. So I believe now cooperation through Slack is very important. This is an opportunity for us in order to make it into the media. Facts are always the way to present our case, any case around the world. If we want it really to reach out to people, our stories should be based on evidence, and that's why we work together and we collaborate in all our efforts. Thank you, Bakr. Yeah, one of the things that I've noted was about a rumor that was about on Twitter, spread on Twitter by the Israelis, where Palestinians, it claimed that Palestinians use puppets in order to, or dolls to gain the empathy of the world. Well, this is not true, and the maybe positive thing in this view is that Israeli supporters would see that there is a bigger impact around the world for the truth. People would not, so they tried to fabricate this truth and with spreading disinformation. I know there's when Israel said that there is no humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. Imagine. So this is, we cannot really, I don't know what to say about this. Despite the very dire situation, Israel is still spread that it's a normal situation. So some people in the West maybe have heard the word Palestine for the first time after all these incidents. So what even contributed more to spreading our story is that we've noted that the spreading of the distorted Israeli narrative had well served the Palestinian case. For instance, when they spread their how the story of the militias have gone into the Gaza hemisphere had showed that even the Western had did not really believe it. So allegations, disinformation have contributed one way or another in making people look for the truth. And if they haven't fabricated such allegations, people maybe might not have even moved or thought about fact checking. So I believe we're now in a good position, and there's a military battle, but there's a media battle that we really need to take care of. Okay, we understand that the Tahaqqaq and Tayqn are Palestinian platforms. They need to collaborate as much as possible with Arab, with international fact-checking institutions. But as for Arab platforms like Sawab, and Akhbar Meter, how much this collaboration is good for them? How much can they play a big role in supporting Palestinian platforms working on the ground? I'd like, let's start with Haidar. Thank you, Saja. Yes, this is very important in order to control the big amount of information. Yes, one platform cannot control everything. So whether that was spread in the Palestinian or digital sphere or the Egyptian or the Iraqi, it's difficult, very difficult to control. So there's another point. There's something else we need to note. For instance, some news spread in Lebanon but not in Iraq. So we need to shed light on such issues, because this news will have some impact in Lebanon and not the other countries. So all information related to this crisis need to be published by all, broadcasted by all platforms, and also through this platform, I would suggest an initiative that through our partnership with Meta, any of these platforms would that maybe their content would be blocked or deleted. It should be sent to Meta, and Meta would deal with it. And this is very important. And we worked on some of the issues that were deleted, and we were able to retrieve a big number of posts. So this is part of the cooperation that we're asking for, and this is a service that we can provide to all colleagues in order to convey the truth. And also our cooperation with Tahaqqaq, we want to convey the message in a bigger way, in a broader way, and they have in Al-Haq, they have the English language department, which will help in conveying the message to the outer world and to those who do not speak Arabic. So it's very important to volunteer, to cooperate amongst each other, because one platform cannot work alone. Even the just normally user is part of this process, and so it's either that they start to fact check the information, or maybe all platforms are ready for communication to fact check any piece of news that would be suggested or proposed by the users. This is important, and I ask anybody who suspects any piece of news to send to a fact checking platform and share these facts with the
Thank you so much, Haidar. In this respect, I would like to point out that the AFCN has a chatbot, a special digital assistant for fact checking. Anybody who wants to check about the video can send through WhatsApp, and we have the fact checkers. This is not only for the normal or ordinary persons, but also for the fact checking platforms. We're ready to help you, and my colleagues will be sharing the link on chat where you can send your misinformation, false or fake information. What is more important is also to publish the correct information after you correct them. After you correct the false information. The person who posted on Twitter, for example, should get in touch with them, let them know that you have already corrected the false information they posted. It's important to send or to communicate with the people. Information. Dina, what would you like to speak about an Egyptian platform that can support Palestinian or foreign platforms on the events in Palestine? I believe I'm with Haidar that a huge amount of information, whether at the Egyptian or regional, no one platform can be sufficient. I think we currently collaborate. Some platforms are presenting to the others or guiding certain tools, how to access correct information. There are great initiatives. I believe we would still improve and make more progress in terms of posting all simultaneously. Yes, there are still more steps to come so that we can be more effective. Mainly that is topics it's regional, but also not just at the Egyptian level, but that could be important for other institutions other than the Egyptian ones. AFCN is now communicating in a better, they have better communication with the foreign institutions. I think this would also improve much better. Thank you, Dina. Fuad. Just to emphasize and reiterate what Dina and Haider said, the Palestinian platforms, they are certainly, would not certainly be able to confront or to encounter the propaganda, whether by Israel, the US, or any other European platforms. The role of platforms abroad should play their role to support the Palestinian platforms. This support could be through the translation of news items, or maybe fact-checking certain news items. All of this, even the design of certain news information. There is an overlap sometimes, especially what we notice at the borders. It means between Lebanon and Palestine, it means that both parties are involved and should collaborate together. How can the platforms collaborate with the pro-Palestinian foreign platforms? But some of them post old images of Israeli attacks or aggression on Gaza. Some of them do in English language. Does this include fact-checking the US Western media, the Israeli media, or just whatever information they post? We have already said that our collaboration today, and we need to know that there is a problem in the foreign publishing. Even the lobbying groups who work within the Zionist lobby nowadays, they try to use such information for the sake or for the best interest of the Israeli propaganda. So they use videos or images. For example, the child whom they tried to enforce or impose the speculations that it was a toy. Actually, we continue to communicate. Today, we're under much pressure about following and tracking the content. I would reiterate that today, communicating with Gaza extremely difficult. The majority, there is no access to internet, nor to electricity, or to communication. Any type of communication. That's why it's the effort is double. We're trying through the AFCN to communicate better and to clarify to the public. I don't know about the circulation or the access. 60,000 on our platform, but it's still limited because it is confined to the Palestinian content. So we might work on this to make comments. We need to double our effort, actually. Thank you so much, Bakr. Thank you, everyone. There are too many questions asked by foreigners and Arabs on the Q&A about blocking the Palestinian content. Hamla institution in Palestine monitored a lot of blocking of the Palestinian content, especially by Meta. How can us as fact-checking platforms mitigate as much as possible? What are the mechanisms that you use, especially the Palestinian platforms, to deal with this issue? If anybody can be useful or maybe share with us any kind of response, we would be really thankful. We try to meet with the regional director. The regional director might not be able to share anything. So what's worse than that? What do you do you consider as violating? We found out that even the Meta regional directors in the Middle East are not quite aware. They don't know that they have too many standards or criteria to rely on, or they have loose criteria that can be that are not reliant. For example, the word martyr could be a violation. A martyr could be a violation, considered as a violation in a certain context, but not in another. So we try to communicate with the persons from Meta. We try to resort to institutions. Sorry, lost the connection with him. There is a lot of impact. We've been suffering from violations that limited the access to our page or website in a very harmful way, and you were aware of this thing. So we have too many problems. I would add to the comments regarding trying to understand the policies of such institutions is extremely important. If our content is being limited or blocked, we should try to look for alternatives, try to write in different ways, try to send messages as opposed to publishing things that could be blocked. We need to try to establish alternatives so that we would not give up or surrender to such limitations, especially if they don't respond to us. We need to try to find substitutes. I don't have enough time, but let me quickly listen to Haider and Dina. Once again, what happened is clearly today the user, when a user goes to Instagram or Facebook, when they want to create an account, they have to agree to certain policies by Instagram or Facebook. Once they agree, this means that this user accepts everything and all the items or requirements. In a nutshell, Meta and the similar platforms have actually exceeded the criteria or the conditions that they themselves created or established. So this is a very complex issue. We need to communicate with America, try to let them know that a certain post is in a news context as opposed to being biased towards a certain side against the other. Also trying to place certain words by others, or try to find a new vocabulary that could be the closest to the actual terms in order to mitigate or to lessen or make things more easier in terms of the content. Thank you, Haider. Anybody who wants to add anything? I think now, other than Meta, there are many people who did not use Twitter, but after the recent events, they started to use Twitter and other platforms. So Meta is not the only one who can block or stop us. The social media can find other means to try to communicate or to convey the content. Thank you, Dina. Fuad. Saja, you are aware that we started with WhatsApp, Sawab and WhatsApp, even though it's pro-Meta, but the encryption on WhatsApp allows for bigger content, much bigger than Facebook and Instagram. So I advise colleagues to create groups, WhatsApp groups, to convey or to communicate the content in a better, trying to avoid some limitations or restrictions in this respect. Thank you, Fuad. Yes, WhatsApp is the one, a lot of forward takes place on WhatsApp, and a lot of there's plenty of fake information forwarded via WhatsApp. That's why we need to double check the information via WhatsApp. Actually, we only have 3 more minutes. So if each and every one of you please share something, how you would continue as fact-checking platforms, how would you continue with your work in the coming period despite the difficult circumstances we're experiencing. We would intensify our tracking of all the content on the Gaza war. Today, the hashtags are very good. There's a platform by one of the colleagues who gave us an advanced monitoring tool who would help us monitor or survey or do our own surveillance. Of course, with your ongoing efforts, Saja, and the efforts of colleagues, we would continue with this work. The current efforts of the activists, journalists, and fact-checkers are way bigger than Arab foreign ministers, or this would maybe constitute a flood, actually. Thank you, Bakr. An important piece of information that we need to convey the facts and information to government parties or other decision makers. We all know that the public service employees, even leaders or dignitaries, they can have information or false information or false reports. That's why we need to convey facts to them so that they can do whatever their role. Also, we need to collaborate. We need to activate and make our work more efficient through the emergency situations. Thank you so much, AFCN. Thank you, Haidar. I think the only solution is to continue to cooperate, and we need to work on doing an additional app, the Slack app, for example, with efforts of AFCN, who play a main role. We need to appreciate the successes, even the simple ones that we achieve under the provocation, under the problems and the misinformation or disinformation that we're experiencing. We do that, what we play our role, and we need to continue. There's no going back, because it would be a catastrophe in such a situation. Certainly, things are going towards escalation. So we, in the coming stage, we need to rely on more volunteers so that we can have more. We need to be more able to deal with the information and the news. Thank you so much, Bakr, Anas, Haidar, Dina. I apologize because we were unable to answer the huge amount of questions, but I want to emphasize that we would not stop. We've been working continuously since the beginning of the aggression and the war. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the Arab fact checkers, all the platforms. I've seen how you collaborate, how you support each other. They how you support other platforms. They ask me how to, for example, provide certain tools or send things to other platforms. It's the night and day, 24/7 work and efforts. We will continue with that. Please follow us on social media. The collaboration will continue as is, for the sake of Shireen Abu Aqli and the other journalists, the martyr journalists. We will continue to reveal and expose all the misinformation. I would invite you for the next Wednesday's webinar to just and what's the network doing in the regarding Palestine. Thanks for the colleagues who shared the link on chat. Thanks for the interpreters, and thanks for the AFCN, who's been working, Fatma, since day one of the war. They work 24 hours, and for the ARIJ team, and all the colleagues who do not calm down, keep working for the sake of Palestine. Thank you so much, and good night, everyone. Thank you.